Hi everyone. I'm just going to put together a short demo on how to use Zoom, specifically basic settings you need to know, how to schedule a meeting, and then once you're in a meeting, what some of the key features are. So I'm not going to cover the sign up process. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You can do that through zoom.us. You also have the option, if you don't want to use the web-based experience, to download the desktop application, and I'll cover both during this tutorial. So I think we really want to cover the settings first before we jump into scheduling a meeting, because some of the settings actually impact how we set up our meeting schedule. So under settings, there's a couple that I recommend, but again, these are totally up to you and what you think is appropriate for your classroom. The first being join before a host. I would like to allow the students to join the meeting before I get there. The second, and again, this is your option to choose to mute participants. Again, I shut this off. I'd prefer them to show up and then be able to chat until we start the virtual classroom. But again, that's your option. The other is to co-host, which means if you're co-teaching, this allows you to assign a co-host, and this will allow you to move through the classroom together and assigned experiences together. So again, co-host is really key if you're co-teaching. I changed the screen sharing to allow all participants to be able to share. I'm not sure how that'll work out yet, but I don't want to limit it to just my screen, so I turn these on. And then lastly, breakout room, which this allows you to do smaller sessions or group critiques or individual critiques. Now, I haven't tested this yet, but this will allow you to have a larger classroom experience and then be able to do sessions with individual students. Okay, I'm going to go through what I think is the simplest way to schedule a meeting and add it to the course canvas. So this is browser based. I'll go over the desktop version a little bit later. So under meetings, I'm going to schedule a new meeting, and I'm going to use the scenario of my sophomore 243 class. So I'm just going to use that as the topic. I'm going to select when we start back up, when the class actually meets, how long we meet for, and then I'm going to select reoccurring meeting. I'm going to do it weekly, and I'm going to do Monday and Thursday, and then I'm also going to put in the end date for the end of the semester. Then you have all your preferences, and I'm going to hit save. And I'm just going to copy the URL for the meeting and come into my Canvas for the first day back, link the URL for that meeting, and now any student that has my 243 class can click this link and join our classroom experience. Now if I come back to meetings, you'll see that I have a reoccurring scheduled. And what's really powerful about the reoccurring meeting is if you look at your URL, so mine's 8527 here, it's actually the same on every meeting. So what this means is I can just paste this URL in every assignment for the rest of the semester, and the students will have access to it. I don't have a unique URL every single time. So after you've made this reoccurring scenario, if it's not correct, you can always delete it, or you can come in and edit each one individually if you need to. So I'm going to get rid of this scenario right now. It's pretty simple. It will delete all the occurrences, and now I'm back to my starting point. So here are a few alternative ways to schedule a meeting with Zoom. Again, I'm still in the browser-based scenario, and under meetings, again, I'm going to schedule a new meeting. I'm going to use, again, the sophomore 243 class as an example. I'm going to set where I'm just going to do one classroom. So if you're uncomfortable with the idea of doing a reoccurring and you just want the control of doing one at a time, that's absolutely fine. So this is the scenario you would set up. So again, when my class meets, how long we meet, no reoccurring this time, and I'm just going to hit save. So I'm just trying to do one class. I'm just going to copy this URL and paste it into my classroom canvas. So that's the one class meeting. The alternative is if you want to invite all the students to a meeting, you can do that in the Google Calendar. So if I click that and I sign in, you still have your URL, which you always can just copy and paste and send to the students, but you can also then add them. So if I want to add somebody to that list, I can just simply start to type in the guest name and start to add them. And when I save that, it will send them the meeting invite. So again, you have the option of copying and pasting the URL into your course canvas, or you can invite them to an individual class session as well. So let's do a comparative between the desktop and the browser-based version of Zoom. So if I just schedule a new meeting, and again, I'm going to use the 243 scenario, I have all the same options here and the option for reoccurring meeting. Under the advanced options, this is a little bit different on the desktop versus the browser. And one of the key things that I want to have access to in the future is breakout rooms, which this allows me to set up individual reviews with students. So again, on the desktop, it doesn't have that option. But if that's not an option you need, then it's pretty easy to schedule. Once I click that, it will kick you over to Calendar, where you can then again copy and paste your URL into Canvas, or you can add students via guests and save it. The easiest way to access your meeting is through the URL you posted on Canvas. So if I click that URL, it'll open the meeting, and then I'm just going to open it in the desktop environment, and voila, it works. And this is the simplest way to get to your meeting. So there's two ways to start a meeting. One is through the desktop environment, and you can just click start. I find that setting up all the meetings is easier on the actual browser-based environment, but to join and start meetings, it's a lot easier through the actual desktop app. I know that's a little confusing, but it tends to work better that way, and I'll show you why. If I jump over to the browser-based and I click start to join my meeting, what it's going to do is it's going to kick me back over to the desktop app to actually open the meeting. So again, I think you think about two ways. You can do all your scheduling through the browser and all your classroom experience through the desktop. But if you don't have the desktop app, I'll walk you through that. So if I hit cancel, I can click here, hit cancel again, and this will allow me to run my meeting through the browser. So again, I would only use this scenario if you don't have the desktop app, and I can join, and then I just have to make sure I turn on my video settings, and you should be good to go. So let's just start a meeting through the desktop application. I find this to be a lot easier. You just hit start, it'll launch Zoom, you'll join with computer audio, and then you have everything you need. If you need to invite more people, you can just hit invite. You can manage all your participants by muting, and there's other options here as well. You can share your screen, and it looks something like this. So you can be lecturing, and the students can see you in the corner, and it's pretty easy. You just stop when you're done. You also have the option where multiple participants can share their screen, so if students have questions, it's easy for them to get them answered. There's a basic chat, which I haven't fooled around with. You can record the computer while you're giving feedback or doing a lecture. And lastly, this is not something I've used yet, but I'm very excited to work with, where you can create breakout rooms. So right now we have our main session where all the students can be in that session, and then you can create individual breakout rooms. So let's say I need to do 6 rooms and I'm going to have 2 students in each room. I can create 6 or more breakout rooms, and I can assign individual students to those rooms. And right now I don't have any students to assign to, but I would assign, let's say, 2 or 3 to each room. Then I can join that room and individually review with those students while the classroom environment is still going on the outside of it. Again, I have not tested this. I look forward to trying it out the next week or so, but I think this feature is really key to making a virtual environment work for art and design type classrooms. So I hope this helps everybody out, gets the basics down, and hopefully everybody has a successful first week. Thanks for watching.